Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on the front porch, where today our theme is custom hats. Maybe you've noticed how we love to wear our hats here on the front porch. But wait a minute, why am I not wearing a hat? And who's my special guest? And for goodness sakes, where is Poochie? The answer to all these questions and more, right after this word from the porch.
Front porch, front porch, front porch is the place for me. Front porch is a place to gather, rain or shine, it doesn't matter. Have a chat with friends and family. Front porch is a place to gather, cup of coffee and some laughter. On the front porch in a rocking chair is where you'll find me.
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in. My name's Todd, I'll be your host. As always, I'm joined by Poochie, and my special guest today is Mr. AJ Penny, custom hat maker. Welcome, AJ.
Thank you.
AJ is also my son, and he's responsible for all the hats you see us wearing here on the front porch. So I'm really excited to ask AJ some questions about custom hat making. So the first question, AJ, is how did you get into making hats?
Well, I received a hat from grandmother, your mom, and it was a leather hat, and it kind of started falling apart a little bit. So I was just doing some research on hats, seeing what the best quality hats are, and found a very nice hat at Horsetown, and I bought it, and then I was curious about how it was made, because I couldn't wrap my head around how that could just be felt. So I did a lot of research, and I eventually found a custom hat maker in Tennessee, and we actually went up there and I trained under him for a couple days, so he taught me how to make hats.
So what's cool about making custom hats is AJ uses old tools and he uses old methods, and everything is done by hand, and the result is what you see him wearing on his head today. So what's special about the hat you're wearing today, AJ?
This is actually my wedding hat. I made it for mine and Nicole's wedding, so it has mine and her name in it, and then it also has the date when we were married.
Very nice. Nice looking hat.
Thank you.
So last week I decided I needed another hat, and I ordered a hat from Shady Grove Hat Company. I went over to AJ's shop, and he let me pick out the color I wanted and all the other components, and I took my video camera with me and I actually videoed him making my hat. So what we'd like to do now is get AJ to describe the steps in making a custom hat, and we'll show you some of the video that I made last week. So can you describe how you make a hat, AJ?
Yeah, so first the process is, you pick, the customer picks out their general design of what they want, the color, what color sweatband they want, and just the general shape of the hat and how they want it to look. And then I measure their head and get their head shape to make sure that I can make it fit. Well, I start with a hat body, which is it's basically a piece of felt in the general shape of a hat, and I have a big steamer that basically the steam just loosens up the fibers, loosens up the felt so that it's easily formed around a hat block, which is what we have here. Go ahead and grab it. So the hat block is sized to a certain size, and then there's many different shapes of hat blocks, and each shape will give you a different look.
And that was one of the old tools we were talking about. That's probably 100 years or more.
Probably about 100 years old, yeah.
Okay.
There's a few different tools you use. You use just a piece of string to tighten down the hat body onto the block, and then you push it down with this very creatively named pusher downer.
Pusher downer.
Pusher downer pushes down the string
Okay.
onto the hat. So you also, in the same sitting, basically, you use a puller downer which pulls down the hat onto the block.
Makes sense.
So yeah,
Good name.
good name.
So what's the next step in the process?
The next step is going to be ironing and sanding the crown, and then doing the same thing to the brim, so ironing and sanding the brim as well.
Okay. And when you say sanding, you actually use a type of sandpaper, and you sand it almost like you would sand a piece of wood. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, yeah. You know, we've actually made some hat tools, and we use the same sandpaper to make the wood hat tools as we do to make the hats. So.
And sanding makes it smooth, just like you're on a piece of wood.
Right, and then put it on what I have. It's a spinner, so it spins the hat body around. So when you're sanding it, using various grits of sandpaper, you're sanding down the long fibers, so taking those away, and also pointing all the fibers in the same direction, so it makes a much smoother and softer hat. The next step is going to be cutting down the hat brim to the customer's preference.
Okay.
The size that they
Did
ask
you
for.
use something like this?
Yes. This is called a rounding jack, and its job is to cut the brim, and the way it's designed, you can't cut a brim with just scissors because you can never make it perfect. So basically this goes around and it cuts the brim evenly. The next step is going to be sewing in the sweatband.
Okay.
So from then I'm actually fairly unique in that I take the sweatband from just being a flat sweatband and I sew it together, and I sew on a bow that I actually hand tie, and I sew with a crisscross or a X stitch, and a lot of hatters, you know, they just have the sweatband pre-sewn by a machine.
Custom fitted to your customer's hat.
Right.
Okay. Very good. So after the sweatband, what's the next step?
The next step is we're going to flange the brim. So, and I'll show you the piece of equipment right here. This is called a flange, and basically it's curved all the way around, and that creates kind of like a bowl shape for the fedora, which creates the snap brim, so you can snap it down in the front and snap it up. So that gives you the traditional fedora look.
Okay. And that's an old piece of equipment too, right?
Correct. That's probably about as old as the hat block. So
What's the tool that you use to actually set on the hat, and when it's on the flange, what do you call that?
It's another very creative name. It's a sandbag, and it's called a sandbagger.
Sandbagger.
So
It's probably, is it like 50 pounds or more of
I believe
sand?
it's about 50, 60 pounds, yeah.
And when you lower the sandbagger onto the hat in the flange, then that puts even pressure all the way around the brim, and it shapes it the way you want it to.
Right.
So AJ wouldn't let me film anymore after the hat went under the sandbagger. He wanted it to be a surprise and to reveal it here on the front porch today. So I'm about to see my new hat. I haven't seen it. Where's my new hat, AJ?
It's right over here, and I think we're gonna have somebody hand it to you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Michelle. Wow. Look at that. It's a black on black fedora. I got to pick my sweatband and my liner. Now I'm going to try to put it on my head.
Looks good.
Yes. Thank you. Wow. Awesome. I got a new hat. So to celebrate this festive occasion, AJ and I would like to play a song for you called the Shady Grove Hat Song. Hope y'all enjoy. See you soon. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You need a cover for your noggin. Don't waste money on a boggan. Get yourself a hat from Shady Grove.
Shady Grove!
For concealment of your mohawk. Or maybe a faux-hawk. All you need is a hat from Shady Grove.
Shady Grove!
Shady Grove will make a hat for anyone. Mom and dad, daughter, or son. Just a UV rays. All you need's a hat from Shady Grove. I'll get your head measured, and it would be my pleasure to make you a hat from Shady Grove.
Shady Grove!
Shady Grove will make a hat for anyone, mom and dad, daughter or son, just the size and shape you need for your head and not your feet. Shady Grove Hat Company, custom fedoras and derbies, hats for cowboys and beach bums. If you've got a passion for your fashion, you better get one.